Hey everyone, welcome back to the Your Life Your Way series. I'm your host, April Schluter, life balance coach for successful yet overcommitted professionals, and I help people have more fun while getting stuff done. Today, I am super excited to welcome our guest, Lina Acosta-Sandal. Hi, Lina.
Hi, April.
This video is specifically for the parents in the audience. We are talking about family, and let me tell you a little bit more about Lina before we dive in. So she began her career at Vista Del Mar in Los Angeles, and there she developed expertise in child and adolescent development and infant and early childhood mental health while strengthening her resolve to support families. She's trained and participated in research studies with Yale's Minding the Baby, the National Child Traumatic Stress Network, and Child Trauma Research Program of San Francisco. And in 2015, she was named Mujer Legendaria de Ford for quality in her field. So Lina, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to talk about parenting and families, and I know that you're an expert in this field, so I'm so glad that you can share all your wisdom and insight today.
It is absolutely wonderful to be here, and thank you for asking me. It's, parenting is an important part of being happy.
Absolutely. And it's a tough job for sure, juggling everything else that we have to do in the rest of our lives, and, being in our careers and strengthening relationships and all of that stuff. So thank you again so much for being here. So we're going to dive right in, and as I ask everyone, I would love for you to tell the audience a little bit more about you and your journey to living your life your way.
Well, I am, like you said in my little bio, I'm a psychotherapist, I'm a child development expert, but most importantly, I'm a mom and I'm a wife. And how I found my way here, where I am today and living my life my way, is really my number one tool, which is always making sure that I'm authentically me, and not making excuses or apologizing for it. Just understanding that for, some people like vanilla and some people like chocolate, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. So the way that I live my life is understanding that we all have different ways of being, and it's kindness from afar sometimes, and sometimes it's like surrounding myself with really, really good people. So I think that I got where I am today in my 44th year by really following the rule of authenticity. And one more thing, if I ever have a what if I jump out of a plane? What if I open a center in Miami? I do it.
Yeah.
No what ifs.
Absolutely. It's let's just do it. Let's just dive in. Yay. Awesome. I love that. So obviously one of the topics I wanted to cover in this interview series was how to have a thriving family. And all of us parents in the audience know that we want to raise our children to be the best that they can be. And sometimes we have tendencies to forget that when we're tired and all of that stuff. So as a child development expert, what is the one point parents need to remember to help their children thrive?
So it's not just me. It is in multiple studies, both in neuropsychology, in child development, and attachment theory. Ready? Here we go. Here's the answer. When you understand how your past influences your present, just doing that, your children will thrive. And the reason for that is that you won't repeat what happened to you with your children. So sometimes we go through life not being very reflective about what influences us today that really belongs in 1992. Mm-hmm. So that is the number one through studies and research that we know. So when a parent is self-reflective about themselves, then they're able to be reflective and empathic with a child. And then that makes it so that your child thrives.
Awesome. And it's very, very interesting because, I think I look at the way that my parents raised me, and I do see myself making different choices in some respects and making some of the same choices in others. But I feel like maybe it's this whole generational shift, as we as we raise our own children, we just kind of change the perspective of the things that we want between, for our children based on what we experienced in the past, right?
Exactly, 100%. Because we could only teach what we know. Mm-hmm. And a lot of what we know about being in relationship, because the parent-child dyad is a relationship, is how we have been in relationship in the past. So if you're continually wondering about, okay, that whole thing about, oh, I sound like my mother, or yay, I sound like my mother. It depends, right? It depends on each individual. So if you can really take a look and be reflective and just kind of sit with yourself, and it's okay to make mistakes with children. It's actually a good thing to make mistakes with children, because then they see you as human, and human is better than perfect mommy and daddy.
Yeah, I like that. And it goes right along with that authenticity and mm-hmm. Making sure that you're living you, right? So I wanted to talk a little bit about emotional intelligence. And there's obviously a lot of emotional intelligence information out there and how children need it. But what exactly is that?
I know, it's one of those buzzwords, right?
Yeah.
So emotional intelligence is 1, being able to label what you're feeling, 2, tolerating what you're feeling, and 3, recuperating from what you're feeling. So the number one thing, and when children are between the ages of 2 and 4, which is the high tantrum time.
Yeah.
Okay. The terrible twos, 3-nagers, 4-nagers. I've heard all these terms, but at the end of the day, what it is that the brain becomes highly reactive to emotional information. So children tantrum 3 times per hour and have 1 minor conflict every 3 minutes.
Wow.
So what I call that is the gym for emotional intelligence. So most of us as parents label the feeling, but then we skip tolerating and jump to recuperating, meaning that we tell them, oh, you're very, very angry. Here's a toy. Here's this. If you don't stop crying, I'm going to bloody, fit in the word. If you don't know, no iPad,
That sounds like my household.
But the most important part of emotional intelligence for everyone is the middle one, tolerating. And what does that mean? When you tell a child you're really sad because you want to wear your blue boots to preschool, but we don't wear blue boots to preschool. Most preschoolers will fall to the ground screaming and saying, boo, 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 right? And most parents will be like trying to talk to them through that. In that moment, I want everyone to just, because that's the tolerating part. Because if we're honest with ourselves, our emotions are like waves, they flow. When you speak in that tolerating part, you're increasing the tantrum. In the under 5 crew, tantrums can last up to 20 minutes. In the 5 to 7 crew, it could last about 10 minutes. And I'm not, like, as a developmental person, I'm not worried about it. And in the 8 to 24 crew, it can last a week. Not of screaming, but of holding it in, because they have all this experience of like all the other times that it's been bad. But what's most important is just kind of sitting with the feeling, because feelings are not what makes or breaks us. It's the action we take from the feeling that makes or breaks us. Mm-hmm. There's a beautiful, beautiful TED Talk from the woman that wrote A Stroke of Insight. And her name is kind of spinning off. I can send it later. But she talks about, she's a neurologist, and she talks about that our feelings are a 90-second synapse in the right hemisphere of the brain. So if you can sit with your little person and just say to them, you're very angry at me right now because you don't want to stop playing, but it's time for dinner, and then let them fall apart, it should take about 1.5 minutes. And then most children will go, asking for a hug, right? And most parents at that moment get completely confused. Like, what do I do? Your gut tells you to hug them. Your head tells you, no, they should learn. And if I hug them, then they will keep doing this behavior of tantruming. Actually, the right answer is to hug, because that's part of recuperating. Yeah. So emotional intelligence is being able to label, tolerate, and recuperate from an emotion. And I always challenge all of my parents, which emotion can you not tolerate? Because that's probably the emotion that you're asking your children not to feel.
Wow, that's really powerful. I mean, I think what I like about this is, just really letting them just kind of get vent that frustration and that feeling and that tantrum, because, I don't know what it is as we start to grow older where we start to hold it in, and it doesn't allow us to move forward sometimes because
Yes.
it's so pent up. So do you have anything or any suggestions on why that happens as we grow as adults?
Because somebody has told us to stop feeling it.
Okay.
Right? So sometimes, like, boys between 5 and 7 get the message not to cry. Be a man, don't cry. Right?
Yeah.
But crying is a human experience. It's not a gender thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a response to sadness and frustration and sometimes anger. Girls are told to be nice. So a little bit of it is culture. So we also don't want to make pariahs of our children, right? Like if our little guy, falls apart every day at school, he might get bullied because culture hasn't shifted enough yet for boys to be able to express. But it's letting them know, let your feeling through. I always tell children, I'll ask my client, what does fear do for you? How does it help you? And most kids look at me like, there's nothing good about fear, Miss Lena. And I say, no, what information does fear give you? And inevitably, if you take a moment to think about it, fear tells us to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Fear tells us that we need to ask for assistance, right? Mm-hmm. And fear helps us set boundaries. So then once we look at those three things and we go, okay, thank you, fear, for giving me that information, then we can take an action. Maybe we need to ask for help. Maybe we need to walk back from the hole that we might run into. Maybe we need to tell a friend, hey, I didn't like the way that you spoke to me. So I would say to you that most of us begin to push down our feelings because somewhere along the way, we got the message that particular feeling is not good. And if you feel it, you can't finish a circle of connection with me in relationship. And all of us as human beings will put relationship above everything else.
Yeah. Wow. I'm taking a lot of notes. This is awesome. Yeah. So I think I also wanted to ask you about, how to discipline and discipline children, right? I mean, we're coming into this world of, there's a lot of, putting kids on the iPads and trying to, or taking things away. And I remember you saying something about a quote about the difference between punishment and discipline. And you said, I think it was to punish is to hurt and to discipline is to teach. Do you have any, can you share your differences in your definitions of punishment and discipline?
So, punishment, I thank you for saying my quote. I love that quote of mine. But at the end of the day, I want every parent that's listening to this to wonder, when was the last time that they learned something when they felt hurt? Or when they felt judged? Or when they felt pain? And that is what punishment does. They have to feel bad to learn their lesson. Actually, when I feel bad, what I begin to do, if I am a thinking, problem-solving human being, is to try to not do that again, right? And that's why it works. Like, punishment works because it's fear-based, right? But do we want our children to be afraid of us, or do we want to teach our children about how to be in the world? Discipline has the Latin root discipla. I hope I'm getting that right, which means disciple, right?
Yeah.
So our children are our disciples. We are their mentors. We are showing them this is how to be in the world. So I want parents to get away from bribing and threatening and moving into teaching and mentoring and modeling, right? So that's how I see the difference between punishment and discipline. Now, here's the bad news that I have for all the parents that are listening. When you discipline by teaching, it takes longer. When you punish, it's quick. So punishment is fast food parenting. And every day as parents, you have short-term and long-term choices. So I would rather that 4 out of 7 days, you make long-term choices like repeat and remind. Like, for example, the 5 to 7-year-old is very concrete. So they put everything into good and bad buckets. And when they feel guilty, they put that in the bad bucket because guilt is one of those feelings that doesn't feel very, very good.
Yeah.
That's why the 5 or 7-year-old defends themselves with lies, blaming someone else, telling you that you're mean, because they're feeling guilt. So when you notice that they're feeling guilt, you can say, okay, wait, hold on. I see that you're feeling bad because mommy just told you that, you were not supposed to hit your sister. But that means that you're feeling guilty. Label the emotion, back to emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah.
And then, but make sure to get guilty out of the bad bucket. Meaning that you let them know, listen, I know that feeling guilty feels really yucky in your body and in your heart, but it's actually a good feeling. And most children will look at you like, what? And you have to say it's a good feeling because it tells mommy that you have love and kindness in your heart and you know that you made a mistake. So it's important. That is discipline. Punishment is don't hit your sister. If you hit her again, I am going to put you in a timeout and you're not going to have any dessert. What are we teaching little guy? That mommy loves my sister more than me.
Oh, wow.
Maybe. Depends on the kid.
Yeah.
Or, next time I'm going to hit my sister when my mom isn't looking.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
So discipline is always about teaching and explaining, listen, no matter what you do, no matter how angry you get, we don't hit people's bodies. And they're going to repeat it because of lack of impulse control, not because they're manipulating you.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that is concise enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that that's great because even just when you're saying it to me, I'm thinking, the way that, when we're tired parents and we're, we just kind of say what comes out of our minds, but to really just almost take a step back and really, call out the problem and really just being more encouraging. I feel a lot more at ease, hearing you talk about, it in a more loving and kind way instead of don't do that or I'm gonna,
yeah, because it doesn't teach anything. And I'll say this, everybody on this call, if you have children under 8 today, sit with all of them and make signs that say pause. Decorate them with pasta, make them with do a Pinterest one, do crayons, do whatever, and put them all over your house. So then your children can see the pause and then maybe they won't impulsively take a candy from the cupboard. And you as a parent can also be like, okay, wait, stop. I'm not going to say anything until I've taken a breath. Okay, now I'm going to say something to the children.
Yeah.
I have a mommy that the children are not going, no, mommy, no breathing, mommy, no breathing. Because they know she's calming down and she's going to go in for the lesson.
Oh.
So I would recommend everybody put pause signs all over your house so that everybody can follow that moment of like, feel, stop,
Mm-hmm.
and then react.
Yeah. Love that. I need to do more of that as well. And this is great because, I have kids under the age of 8. And so I'm in that space where
Yes.
I can really do some really great work. So as we're trying to, figure out how to teach and discipline, how do we know that we're doing it the right way?
My number one tool is for the parents to get down to 5 core values that they want to teach their children. Right? So let's say that if I sit in my parenting groups, I sit like week 3, we talk about values, right? And what are your family's core values? And then most parents will tell me, I want my children to be independent. I want my children to be loving. So love and compassion is a value for this family. Integrity is a value for this family. Honesty is a value for this family, and responsibility is a value for this family, right? So if you, it's kind of like a business, right? A corporation has corporate values and a corporate principle, right? We could do that for our family. So I always tell parents, get your 5 core values. You know, you and your husband sit down and figure that out together. Then look at all your rules. Look at your routines, look at the school you've chosen, look at the aftercare program that you've chosen, and wonder, are at least 3 of these 5 in all of these things that we've chosen? Sometimes a parent tells me that they want their child to be independent, but they also want them to listen. So you want your child to be independent, right? And sometimes when our children challenge us, when our children challenge us by debating with us, I challenge, and especially if independence is in your value system, I want you to, instead of telling them, don't talk to me like that, to explain to them why talking that way when debating is not appropriate. I want all of you to imagine your child at 32. Because at 4, at 5, at 6, at 7, I start to set boundaries, but I do it immaturely. So it's an opportunity for parents to say, hold on, I see that you're very upset, but if you speak to me like that, it's really hard for me to listen because I feel like you're attacking me. Are you attacking me, baby? No, mommy, I'm just frustrated. Okay, baby. So take a deep breath and try again. Rather than, don't talk to me like that, because we're not teaching them anything. So, yeah. And then keep in mind your 5 core values, especially when you have the rules of the house and wonder, does this rule, does this school, does this after school activity fall into one of these? And if you can get that, if you can always look through at any decision that you make with your children through your core values, then nobody's opinion can like rattle you, including mine.
Yeah.
So I'd say get your core values and make all your decisions through that. Am I teaching this? Does this teach integrity?
Absolutely. And I love values. I've done this exercise in so many different ways, and just even being able to know, what are the values that I live by, and even taking that in different subsets and groups with your husband or your spouse. And, then, pulling your family in, the values may shift sometimes, but they could also be very similar. But I feel like setting values also helps you make the decisions
100%.
that you need to make, especially, and as soon as you're aware of those, then you can say, okay, here's my issue. And you can align them with your values, and it will make those tough decisions so much easier.
Always.
Yeah.
It always does. And you can make it a game with your kids. Like you can play the value game at dinner and like do like role play games. Like let's say that one of your values is honesty. And then you say, okay, guys, we're going to role play. Your best friend just lied to the teacher. Our family's core value is honesty. How are you going to handle it?
Yes, I love that.
Love that. It could be a game.
Yeah, and I'm all about making stuff fun. So that is perfect. I'm going to start doing that with my kids.
Role play is my favorite game to play with kids. You'll be amazed at what they tell you. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's one more thing that I wanted to ask you, or a couple more things, but when we think about our children and the things that we can do, sometimes we forget about how we can stay happy, especially for those tired parents out there. When you're tired, it's really hard to kind of stay happy. And so when parenting gets really, really difficult, how can we shift our mindsets to keep us in that happy place so that we don't go into that, don't do that, or, that type of reaction?
I think that whenever a parent tells me I'm just not happy, It's because they're waiting for their children to be happy, for them to be happy. And that, in any scenario, whether it's parenting or work or intimate relationship, our happiness cannot be attached to something external. And our children are external. So my recommendation to parents is, one, understand that you're human. And children ask for constant connection and affection. There's a study that shows that a preschooler will ask for connection 180 times in an hour. 180 times somebody asking you to care for them. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that I want every parent that's listening to me right now is to allow themselves to be human and understand how difficult and how frustrating it is to be selfless, because parenting asks us to be selfless. It doesn't mean that you have to be selfless, because that's not good for children. And another reason why a lot of parents are not happy is that they feel guilty when they take care of themselves. Some mamas feel guilty if they shower because they are not with their baby. And my message to all of you is, you are the secure base of your children. Until they're adolescent, they always check in with you to make sure that their world is safe. And if if that base is tired, stressed, scared, frustrated, you are not a secure base. So I always tell parents, please take care of you. Don't complicate it. Taking care of you is as simple as, today, promise yourself that every time at a stoplight, you're going to breathe in and out and notice what's around you. Today, promise yourself that every time you walk by your baby, you rub their upper back. Today, promise yourself that you will take or do something that is simple but fills your heart. Like for me, it's like a bath, right? At least once in 7 days. And that is not selfish. That is not you taking away from your children. That is you filling your self-care tank so that then you can get drained by your children. So every time your self-care tank gets low, do something for it. And like you said, in each particular age group, it gets easier or harder. You know, the mama of an infant, it's really hard for her to do these things. Mm-hmm. But the mama of an 8-year-old, go ahead and go to the Pilates class if that's what's going to fill your tank.
Yeah.
But how do I stay happy? I remind myself that I'm human and it's highly stressful to be with a little person that sometimes is very illogical. 2, make sure that you're filling your self-care tank. And 3, don't feel guilty about putting on the mask on your face first before you give oxygen to your children.
I love that. Yeah, it's amazing how, you know, taking more care of yourself just radiates this energy that then bleeds into your children, your husband, and all of that. I know that when I left my prior job, I was coming from this place of, I was just exhausted. I was not taking care of myself. And I think it really affected my family. And when I started prioritizing myself, as selfish as I thought that was, it's almost kind of a great thing. You take care of yourself and you're taking care of everybody else at the same time. So I love that.
Yes. No martyrs, please.
Yeah. Awesome. And I know that you have a lovely gift to share with our audience today, as I know that we're starting to run out of time, but can you tell us a little bit more about what you have to share? Because I know that our conversation has been so valuable. I feel like I'm going to go and implement so much of this after this interview, but I know that you have something to share with everyone else as well.
I do. So a lot of the stuff that I said, you know, it's like, oh, whoa, that's a lot. So I decided to give everyone a quick to-do list on how to enhance and help your children with their emotional intelligence. So it's a little, it's like the Cliff Notes. It's the quick and dirty of all this like crazy science about emotional intelligence. So just read it. It will remind you a little bit of what we've spoken about today. And it gives you nice little ways to continue to build and help your children with their emotional intelligence.
I love it. All right. So everybody who wants this quick to-do list, I am downloading it immediately. You can click that link below the video and you'll get that quick to-do list on building and enhancing your child's emotional intelligence. This is amazing. And Lena, I have one last question for you. What's the one most important takeaway that you'd like to share with the audience on how to work toward a better balance in life?
That it's a choice. I believe that, I have a friend and she has this great tagline. Her name is Luli, and she says that balance is BS. That's the PG version. And that's true. Balance is really about understanding that you choose to do different things at different times. And it's impossible for everything to be completely at a leveled field. So when you choose to do work, your children are not there right then, but you will feel balanced and well and concentrated if you recognize, I am choosing to work now, and then I will choose to give 20 minutes of undivided attention to my children later. So in that moment, there is no balance. The work is getting all the information, your children are not. But then you do the 20 minutes with your children and you turn off your phone and you don't check the Instagram or the Twitter or the Facebook or whatever it is that you're doing with your business. And then, so it's about, balance is about choice and being clear on your choices and knowing that you are not a victim to all the different balls that are in the air for you.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love, we should definitely shout out to Luli because she introduced us.
Yes, she did.
Amazing person. And that's great. And I love her work as well. And it's really great to know that there are other people out there that understand this concept, because, this whole event talks about shattering the myth of work-life balance. And there's a lot of different perspectives out there, right?
There is.
And, what is balance to you? What does that really, really mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's absolutely great. All right. I think we're out of time. Oh, this has been an amazing conversation, Lena. I had so much fun and you shared so much insight. I appreciate you so much. And for all of you, again, the free gift, quick to-do list on building and enhancing your child's emotional intelligence. Click the link right below the video. And Lena, I'm sure we'll be in touch very, very soon. And thanks everyone for watching, especially all you parents out there. For those of you that weren't parents that have made it this far, there's so much stuff that you can take from this video, even if you don't have kids. So, the self-care is super, super important, and it will help with all your relationships, whether it's children or significant others or whatnot. So
yes.
Thank you so much, and I'll see everyone soon. Bye.